guys, welcome to the AI People, where we share inspiring stories of thinkers and builders who are humanizing AI. Here we are with another exciting team from Mastra AI. We have Ashwin and Dan, who are going to talk about the great work that they are doing as part of Mastra. I'll let them introduce themselves and then we will get started.
Hey, my name is Ashwin Mudliar. I'm the GTM lead here at Mastra.
My name is Dan Guzman, and I'm a hybrid of engineer or growth individual at Mastra, just a person who cares a lot about tech and work.
That's great. And Dan and Ashwin have been giving thought leadership materials during the event, and I happened to meet them at CES as well, so that really piqued my interest. They are like so committed to expressing their point of view on how to build Agentic AI and patterns that will make Agentic AI work. So I will turn it over to them to give us a little bit of the inside story as to how they got into like creating this material, and also talk about their principle, their framework for Agentic AI.
Yeah, happy to give you an overview as to how we came upon the book, and then of course the distribution strategy and why we do it. So we were in the first Y Combinator batch last year, in the Winter 25 batch, and the background is our founders, Sam, Shane, and Abhi, were, Sam himself founded the Gatsby JavaScript framework, so if any of you guys have done any modern web stuff, you probably worked with Gatsby and then Next.js, and the co-authors of both of those frameworks are, leading engineers on our team, and our team is actually pretty heavily indexed on folks from Gatsby. And so the founders themselves, they came upon developing Mastra, and we're an open source TypeScript framework for building agent systems, because after they did Gatsby, they were working on some of their own ideas, and of course that was around the time when all this AI stuff was really starting to pick up. And at the time, there weren't really too many frameworks available. They were all in Python, and being TypeScript guys, they decided, why not us? Why not actually build out a strong, solid TypeScript framework that can help, JavaScript developers all over the world, enter this AI space without having to learn an entirely new language. So when we did YC, being a little bit older than a lot of the other founders at the time, Shane, Abhi, and Sam kind of served this big brother role and spent a lot of time, I think over 100 whiteboarding sessions working with a lot of our cohort mates. Like I think 80-90% of them were building vertical agents, just kind of giving them the general ideas and principles about how to build, AI agents. And Shane challenged Sam. He's like, "Why don't you actually write a book?" Right? And so we, Sam wrote the book, and that was the first edition of Principles of Building AI Agents, and I believe that was in March of 2025. And so self-published it on Amazon, and initially we're just ordering 500, 1,000 copies directly from Amazon every single event that we went to, and very quickly realized that there was a strong appetite for what was in these books. Principles really kind of goes over the basic principles that everyone should know when they're going into this AI, into this agentic space. And Patterns actually is a follow-up with that pulls a lot of our work, working with some of the biggest organizations in the world, launching these systems, giving you some guidance on how to get these into production and successfully. And so the TLDR is that we, I think at this point, have distributed close to 200,000 copies, of this book. Showing up to any and every event that we can come to, and just meeting developers and engineers exactly where they're at, and hopefully spreading the word as to how to build these things correctly.
That's awesome. Dan, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll just share a few thoughts for the fellow engineers out there. I've been doing software for about a decade now, and I myself fell in love with Mastra at the first sight. I'll tell you that there's no solution out there in the market available that's from Mastra that does the architectural, very, very well thought through approach for giving you the building blocks for architecting AI agents that can be deployed to production, and that will last you a while, no matter the model releases, no matter the new trends in the industry. And for engineers who have experience with Python as a system, maybe I'll also make an analogy. If you are in Python, you're shipping with LangChain. If you are in TypeScript, you're shipping with Mastra. There is no better answer for what Mastra is. It's essentially LangChain of TypeScript as a system done right.
That's great. So, can you maybe talk a little bit more about Mastra AI? What problem are you solving, and how are your developers and customers benefiting from it? I'll start maybe with Dan. Dan, you may have to hold the mic closer.
Oh yeah, sure thing. I mean, we are an open source framework. Mastra is entirely driven by the demands of the community and our clients. Clients meaning people who build us. And what we're learning is there's more and more demand for operating with data from the real world, and we've been doing a lot of exciting work in that direction. In particular, one of our latest releases, observational memory. I would even say very, very novel and very, very interesting approach to serving retrieval of data in a way that makes it even more natural, even more performant with larger data sets and long-running conversations. If you guys haven't heard of observational memory with Mastra, I mean,
just to add to that, I mean, our entire, our motto as a company is that Python trains, TypeScript ships. TypeScript is the most popular programming language in the world. So many software engineers who are coming from that world need a proper entry point that doesn't require learning an entirely new language, new sets of libraries and the like. And so what we want to do is meet those developers exactly where they're at and give them high quality tools so that they can build these things correctly and more.
There is also a lot of disruption right now in the Agentic AI space, and you guys have a very principled approach to solving some of the problems, and you're starting with a solid point of view and then piloting a community to work together to solve those problems. So why do you see Agentic AI as a category evolving in the next 1 year or so, and how is Mastra AI positioned to lead the way? So I'll start with Ashwin.
It's actually, I think Dan is probably a little better suited to answer this question.
Yeah, I actually am deploying quite a few AI agents for my personal life, and they're all running on Mastra. The reason why is because I'm very comfortable writing TypeScript, and there's no more principled, more systematic approach to building AI agents that are maintainable and scalable than with Mastra. That's just the answer. Yes, you can strip things together yourself with AI SDK. Mastra is another level of abstraction on top of that that gives you all the foundational blocks to build something that is going to serve you for a very, very long time. And the team behind Mastra is excellent. The engineers, I talk to them all the time. They're incredible people. I don't think there's a better team to lead the way on how AI agents should be architected and designed and deployed.
The other thing I want to add to that is, given all the advancements that we're seeing on the models and everything else, you need to, for these things to actually reach fruition, what you need to be able to do is provide the proper infrastructure and tooling around it, so that they actually drive the outcomes that you want. The other part of it is that, especially with the jumps in the coding models, right, and the ability for these models to code, you need to be able to give those models the right inputs so that they can give you the right outputs. And we as an organization view our documents as our product. And so we spend a lot of time on making sure that everything that we build is properly and well documented with the knowledge that they get fed into these models. And so in my experience personally, I'm actually, my background's in data science. I used to code in SQL, R, and Python. It's only been in the last, I would say, year or so that I've been working actively in TypeScript. And I always like to tell people, I can read my own repos in TypeScript. I can read other people's repos in TypeScript and understand what's going on. I can't even read, my own Python code that I wrote 3 years ago. So, especially with all the advancements, beauty of everything that we're seeing with the LLMs is that they're probabilistic, right? But that's also the drawback on it. What you want to be able to do is provide them with the most deterministic tools, and TypeScript really does solve that problem.
I actually would love to expand on that one. As we're moving forward, and especially making a prediction in the year ahead, we're going to be moving in the direction of more and more long-running tasks, long-running agents, more independently acting agents, right? And it is of utmost importance to knowing that language models are non-deterministic by nature, to provide as many deterministic reward functions as possible in those workflows. And Mastra, given all the greatly designed building blocks for building AI agents, provides all the tools you might need going into that future abundance.
All right. To wrap things up, what would you advise someone who's venturing into open source AI with curiosity and they want to learn about it and want to build something with open source AI?
Yeah, well, this is a little selfish, but I'd start by reading our book. If you go to mastra.ai/book, you can to receive PDF copies, and we'll also send you free copies. And I think this gives you the basics and the fundamentals to really, I think, feel confident getting into the space. But the most important thing is just starting to build, right? There's no perfect in this. I think the first thing you should do is to find out something that's reasonable and start productionizing it as quickly as possible. Those first few steps are the most important ones. Once you start on that journey, it's a really hard one to get off.
I'll also add a caveat on top of what Ashwin has said. While reading those books is great and it will give you all the foundation that you need, I feel like it's also of paramount importance for you to have a good idea of how language models work and have experienced that for yourself. If you haven't used a whole lot of language models, I recommend you go and check it out, all the language models that are available in the market for yourself, and form an opinion of how they perform for you in particular workloads. And once you did that, and once you start thinking about, yes, I want to start building with artificial intelligence in open source or make contributions to projects that integrate artificial intelligence, then you can go ahead and start implementing the knowledge from the responsible departments.
The last thing I want to add, the last thing I want to add is stay flexible. This space changes not every day, but every hour. And so I think it's important, to have an understanding of what's going on at any given time. So channels like yours and Twitter and all the other places where most of this stuff breaks, before it gets out into the wild. Staying on top of that and just testing new things all the time is the best way to kind of be at the forefront.
Well, thank you so much, Ashwin, Dan, for spending the time with us. I really enjoyed this conversation. So with the viewers of the talk show, and wish you all the best. Have a great time at the
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.